All right, quick question. When you hear the words human trafficking, what comes to mind? For a lot of people, the first image is something dramatic. Maybe a scene from a movie, or someone being physically taken somewhere far away, something extreme. But here is the problem. A lot of what people believe about human trafficking is actually wrong, and those myths make it harder to recognize when something real is happening. So today, let's talk about a few of the biggest myths and the facts behind them, because once you understand the reality, you start seeing things very differently. One of the biggest myths is that human trafficking only happens in certain countries or somewhere far away from where we live. But the truth is, trafficking can happen anywhere. It can happen in big cities, in suburbs, and even in small rural towns. It can happen in places people pass by every day, like workplaces, farms, construction sites, restaurants, or private homes. That is exactly why awareness matters so much. When people assume it only happens somewhere else, they stop paying attention to what might be happening in their own community. Another myth people believe is that trafficking always involves someone being physically taken or locked away. In reality, that is not always how it works. Many traffickers rely on manipulation instead of force. They might promise someone a job opportunity, a better future, or financial stability. At first, everything may seem normal, but over time, those promises can turn into control. Sometimes that control becomes financial pressure, threats, or emotional manipulation. From the outside, it may not look obvious at all, and that is one reason this crime can stay hidden for so long. Here is another thing many people assume. Some believe that if someone were in a harmful situation, they would immediately ask for help. But the reality is much more complicated. Many people may feel afraid to speak up. Others may feel isolated or unsure who they can trust. Some may worry about retaliation. And in some situations, individuals may not even realize they are being exploited until much later. That is why it is important for communities to understand the warning signs rather than expecting someone to speak up right away. Another myth is that trafficking only happens to a certain type of person. The truth is, it can affect people from many different backgrounds. However, traffickers often look for vulnerability. Someone who is facing financial hardship, someone searching for work opportunities, or someone who may not have strong support systems. Traffickers look for situations they can take advantage of. That does not mean someone is weak. It simply means their circumstances made them a target. Many people also believe trafficking would be easy to recognize if it were happening nearby, but in reality, trafficking is often hidden in plain sight. Someone might appear unusually anxious or fearful. A person may not have access to their own identification. Another individual might constantly monitor them or speak on their behalf. These signs alone do not confirm anything, but they can be indicators that something may not be right. Noticing these signs could be the first step in helping someone get support. The truth is that human trafficking does not always look the way people expect. It does not always involve dramatic situations like the ones people see in movies. Instead, it often hides inside everyday environments, workplaces, homes, and communities that people pass through every day without realizing what might be happening. So what can actually help change that? Awareness. When people understand the difference between myth and fact, communities become stronger. Businesses can train employees to recognize suspicious activity. Consumers can become more informed about the products they support. Neighbors can look out for one another. And individuals can report concerns if something truly does not seem right. Another important step is simply starting conversations about this issue. Many people avoid talking about human trafficking because it feels uncomfortable or overwhelming. But the more people talk about it, the more awareness grows. Conversations in schools, workplaces, and communities can help people understand the warning signs and learn how to respond if something seems wrong. Education gives people the confidence to recognize potential exploitation and know that their awareness can make a difference. At the end of the day, preventing human trafficking is a shared responsibility. Governments, organizations, businesses, and everyday individuals all have a role to play. By staying informed, supporting ethical practices, and speaking up when something does not feel right, communities can become stronger and safer. Every person who learns the facts and shares that knowledge helps shine a light on a crime that often hides in the shadows. And when more people stand together to raise awareness, real change becomes possible. So if there is one thing to remember, awareness saves lives. The more people understand the truth about human trafficking, the harder it becomes for traffickers to hide in the shadows. When communities stay informed, when people pay attention to warning signs, and when someone is willing to speak up when something feels wrong, real change can begin. Every voice matters, every conversation matters, and every action matters. Together, we can shine a light on exploitation and move closer to a world where every person can live with freedom, dignity, and safety. We're here to raise awareness on sex trafficking. Your voice matters. Join us.